So we will sit together for a while and then have a little break as usual, and then I'll offer a talk, and there should be time for discussion at the end, hopefully. So is anybody new here this evening? Great, welcome. And I'll give reasonably complete instructions, and if you find that it's disturbing you, just try to tune me out. So let's begin and find a position that allows you to be both alert and relaxed. Something's happening in Chicago. And the posture isn't often talked about, but it really can serve us in terms of alertness and ease. And so as our bodies change and age, we might be making adjustments all along. But that's what we're after, just that sweet spot of alertness and ease. You can have eyes open or closed. If you have them open, just a soft gaze, not kind of focusing down on some object. In martial arts, it's called the far mountain gaze, where you're kind of softly taking in everything. It can be helpful in beginning a session of quiet to kind of support receptivity, kind of help kind of clear the space by bringing your attention to some things that you're grateful for. Doesn't have to be anything grand. The fact that you made it here tonight and all the parts are working enough so that that could happen is a miracle and something to be grateful for. So a few moments of reflecting on gratitude. You might also explore, like, where do you feel gratitude in the body, or do you? Or is it just a swirl of thoughts? Now, just opening to any ambient sounds in the room. Not trying to identify or categorize, just being as receptive as you can without grasping, pushing away, or trying to analyze. Allowing the energy of sound to wash through. With a little practice, you can learn to hear with the whole body, not just the ears. And now for some moments, bringing attention to this body, this miracle. And bringing attention to the head area. And simply exploring the aliveness there. What do you notice? What do you notice on the surface of the head, the top of the head, the sides, the face? And what might you notice beneath the surface of the head? Just allowing a soft awareness to explore. And allowing that gentle awareness to cascade, if you will, into the neck and shoulder region. Inviting ease there. And inviting the shoulders to maybe release, maybe just a millimeter of releasing, softening, just an invitation. Becoming aware of the aliveness in the neck and shoulders on the surface and beneath the surface. And now allowing that and inviting that soft awareness to descend down the arms. Experiencing, if you will, from the inside out, the aliveness of the bones, muscle, ligaments. Feeling both the aliveness and volume of space in both arms simultaneously. and into the hands. Experiencing the aliveness in each finger. Noticing the contact points wherever they're resting. And bringing that soft attention to the upper portion of the torso, the rib cage area. Might notice the very gentle expansion as you take a breath in. And the relaxing of the rib cage on the exhale. Gentle, rhythmic miracle. And again, noticing the sensations on the surface of the skin and beneath the skin. And maybe even around the skin. The miracle of all these internal organs working mostly in harmony for all these years. Might even feel some gratitude for that. And allowing that gentle attention now to the lower portion of the torso, the belly, the sides, the small of the back. And inviting the belly to soften. And now experiencing the hips and buttocks and genitals, bringing that kindly attention to that area. Noticing the aliveness. And allowing that gentle awareness to descend now through the legs. Experiencing again from the inside out. The aliveness of the bone, the powerful leg muscles. Feeling the volume of space and that vibrant aliveness down through the legs. and into the ankles and feet. Experiencing, if you can, each individual toe. It's much more challenging than the fingers. Yeah. Open your awareness to the entire body simultaneously. And if there is any part of that body that might benefit from some extra TLC, allow your attention to rest there. Not trying to fix or do anything, just to be with. Just as you might be with a friend who is having a difficult time. You don't have to say or do anything. Just kind of show up in a kindly fashion. Now, simply be with what is arising without trying to push away or grasp on. Just resting back, receptive, accepting. Your attention might, for a while, be on sounds. Or maybe there's a body sensation. Or some emotions might be running through. Just allowing all the phenomena to have its play. Watching how they change, how they arise out of this vast field of awareness, flower for some moments, and then disappear. Using just the most minimal amount of effort. To be awake to what's happening. All phenomena arise and pass in the open field of awareness. And if you notice that you're tangled in a thought stream, it's okay. And that moment of noticing is a moment of awakening. Simply relax if there's tension that has built with that thought. And then open again to the dance of phenomena. Not grasping or pushing. Now, allow your attention to softly move from the objects that are arising and passing in the vast field of awareness. And look directly at that nature of awareness. The phenomena will continue arising and passing, but allow yourself to, if possible, to rest and settle with awareness itself. And for some, an inquiry into awareness can be insightful. Where is awareness located? Is it in your head, your body? Does this wakeful knowing have a location? Is there anything that occurs outside of awareness? Can you find an outer boundary? Look directly at the nature of awareness. Does it have an age? Does it have a gender? A sexual orientation? Does awareness have an ethnicity? Does it have a color or shape? Look directly at the nature of awareness. Now, allow yourself to rest in awareness, like falling back into a warm bath. if possible this evening, allow yourself to be awareness. And more subtly, allow yourself to become pure being without boundary, flavored with love and compassion. Pure being, nothing outside, pure being. Everything made of pure being, infused. No separation. Sometimes I feel like I give the same talk all the time, and maybe I do. So, but throughout all of recorded history and almost all the major religions and philosophies, through them all runs a common thread. So when you auger down into the deepest essence of any religion or most of the major philosophies, these wisdom teachings, so to speak, you surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, kind of come into the same arena of understanding. They're not all exactly the same, but there's a flavor of understanding that is similar, if not the same. And so sometimes this is called, and you'll hear it around here, this arena called by different folks natural awareness, or the great perfection, or pure consciousness, or the source, or realization, or the great seal, unity, awakening, Christ consciousness, Brahman, Atman, or God. All of them are monikers for pointing to this shared understanding. And if fortune smiles on you and you get to, in glimpses or moments, inhabit some of that, I won't even call it a realm, but there is a felt deeper sense of liberation, of tranquility, of love, of an intimate connection with everything, all of creation, nothing left out. It's like the end of diversity. Everybody, oh, diversity is this great thing, but at the very deepest level, there is no diversity. It's no wonder that Homo sapiens, or if you go to the Latin root of Homo sapiens, the wise ape, has been fascinated by the natural occurrence of this. It's a natural experience that we have, or a natural glimpse into this, into the source of everything. Since time immemorial, our species has been interested in this. And we've created all kinds of religions, all kinds of different practices, just in pursuit of this understanding, or to kind of bring us to the brink of this opening, this mystery, you know. And all of you somehow have been drawn into this exploration, or you wouldn't be here. You know, you've been turning this over in your hearts and minds for a long time. You know. And so I like to look at it as we are all contemplative artists in the process of discovering, you know, your own special portal into this, or your glide path into these ancient understandings. And it's very personal on one level, and like snowflakes, everybody's got a different kind of feeling and way into it. But on the deepest level, can it be true that we are all one essence, one consciousness? So that's what we're playing with. But this pursuit, before recorded history, has captured the minds of our wisest brethren in that exploration. And when your glide path, whatever it might be, begins to activate organically or automatically, there's an uplifting that happens that transforms every aspect of your life, every relationship, everything. And what's really cool about this is that there's no heavy lifting required. You don't need years of rigorous meditation, or a special mantra, or blessings from some enlightened guru, or massive amounts of psychotherapy. Now, admittedly, all or some of those could be very beneficial. I'm not throwing them out. They're all part of the bathwater and the baby. So, I mean, how about the time, if you think back and maybe this doesn't apply to everybody, but it applies to some. You're standing in awe of a fabulous sunset. It's just, wow. In that moment, your sense of a small, separate self, what happens to it? It kind of dissolves. You feel something, you're bigger than. A moment of maybe boundarylessness, feeling a part of everything. In those moments, you kind of fall into awe. The word awesome is a very interesting word. Full of awe. That's not awful, but full of awe. And in those moments, if you look and are aware of what's happening, it's flavored with love. The heart's like, boom, Or how about the time you looked in the face of a newborn or a small child, and you just, for some moments, just lost in that, and the beauty and miracle of that. You get lost, but it's in a fantastic way to get lost. I just spent some time with my grandchildren. They live on the West Coast. I don't get to see them very much, but we had some real concentrated time, 7- and 9-year-olds. And many times I was like, whoa, just falling into this openness, shared beingness. Incredible. So. Or how about the time you looked at a piece of art or heard some music, and you were dazzled out of yourself? I can vividly remember an exhibition of Rembrandt etchings that I saw at the Boston Museum of Fine Art a number of years ago, or a few years ago, whatever it was. And the self-portrait that kind of blew my mind was about 2 inches square. And maybe you've seen this one. But I remember seeing it, and I got down on my knees and kind of got into closer than I should be in an exhibit like this, so I could catch the light reflecting off that copper plate and feel it. And it's the self-portrait of Rembrandt did of himself as a young person. And he's got this cap on, and he has this expression on his face. And there's a part of me that thinks he knows how I'm reacting to this, because he's mimicking that expression. And it's kind of like, it's like, whoa, kind of like. And I can remember the bolt of kind of appreciation and amazement. There was no small self in that moment. I mean, I not sure whether there's a God, a puppeteer up there or whatever, but in that moment, it's like, this was done by the hand of God, whatever that is, whatever you want to call it, So one other remembrance, personal remembrance. For some reason, some unknown reason, when I was a kid, I guess I was age 12 to 15 or 13 to 16 or something like that. I think the 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. I felt compelled to go to, I was raised Catholic, to go to Mass every day in Lent. And it was about a 2-mile walk. Mass was like 6:30 in the morning or 6:15 or some ungodly hour. But I always have been a person to get up early, even as a teenager, which is kind of weird. When I had teenagers, they didn't get up early. But I did for some reason. So there was something drawing me to want to explore what is this? And so I would go by myself. I'd walk there, and I was the youngest person there by a generation or two, And where I grew up, it was primarily Italian, Irish, and Polish area. And the people that came early in the morning with their shawls on and their kind of basic working class clothes and coats, because it's often cold in that time. This was in New Jersey. Boy, they were getting after it. They were praying. They were fervently praying. And I'd sit there in the middle of these people, and the sun would be coming up, or maybe it's up a little bit. And I could feel the relational field, whatever it was. I liked it, that they were creating around me. And as I sat there and there was some incense, and if the sun was coming through the stained glass windows early in the morning, all the pictures of saints and everything that were in the stained glass and the other Catholic iconography all over the place and statues and stuff, I was like, many times just transported. And in those moments, I wasn't a small, confused teenager, which I was most of the time. But there were just moments of being everything, part of everything, so. But all of you have had moments like that and openings if you kind of reflected on your past, those moments where things just aren't what they seem to be in our regular runaround, multitasking, sense of a small, separate, embattled self. There's a feeling of expansion, and sometimes it can even feel like a little explosion, like it can happen so fast from this to boom, that. And it usually is always accompanied by flavors of love, tranquility, compassion, equanimity. Seems to be the scent in those moments of glimpsing the bigger picture. And that happens organically when conditions are right for us. It happens organically because that's the way it really is. This intimate interpenetration and connection with everything, boundaryless. Now, as humans, access to this intimacy with all creation is easily obscured to a greater or lesser extent based on those conditions, whatever's going on externally or in our minds, where we're small and fearful or whatever might be happening. And we get bound up tightly when those conditions are feeling assault-like, And we start kind of stewing in our own survival juices at that point. In modern parlance, maybe our cortisol levels have been jacked up, But when conditions are like this, the chances of having one of these unity experiences of consciousness are pretty slim, But during conditions like this is where the basic foundations of our mindfulness practice come into play to support us. And despite all my years of noodling around with these various practices and spending endless months on silent retreats, could actually, when I add them up, it's measured in years. It remains a humbling experience to be a human. When I get knocked off my pins a little bit, I do find that if I drop into this basic practice, that's where I get my refuge and support in those moments. And it's in that first recognition, oh, something's happening here. I'm I'm off a little bit, I'm being thrown, then it's my kind of almost a visual, or a vision of a timeout. What am I feeling now? Turning toward the experience. What body sensations are active in this interaction with the feelings? Where in the body do I feel them? Is it something solid? What are the qualities? Is it changing? Is it increasing? It's an emotion. Is it increasing? Is it decreasing? Or is it staying about the same? So essentially, at that moment, kind of put on the lab coat and researching what's happening now. Not trying to duck it or bypass it in some way. It's the weather. Here it is. Let's take a look at it. Another tact, a kind of quick tact, is to, okay, I'm off a little bit. There's usually one or two things happening. I'm wanting something that I don't have or I can't get. Or the kind of flip side of that is I got something I don't want. And so just that recognition can be helpful. And that essentially is the Buddha's teaching about suffering. In its most basic form, you don't have something you want, or you got something you don't want. How are you going to work with that? So as your mindfulness skill or your ability to just get down in the trenches and face what is develops over time, you start to be able to feel this movement of energy early on, what's going on, whether there's a contraction in the body, how you're being identified, all these various threads of emotion that can be seemingly simultaneous. Fear, anger, guilt, shame. I mean, they can all be in a jumble. And you also develop the reflexive action of when you're off and when you recognize that you are suffering, the reflexive action of bringing a little self-compassion. I'm whatever I am, and I'm suffering, and I'm worthy of some self-compassion, and maybe there's nobody to give it to me but myself. And that's good enough. But in this process, a couple of things can happen. We can develop a confidence that, okay, these are impermanent things coming and going. Body sensations, physical pains, that's changing. Even if it's acute and terrible, it's changing a little bit. Emotions come and go. How many of you had today? Thoughts come and go. Some of them are, thoughts that are pleasant, some unpleasant, whatever it is. We start to feel that confidence. Well, it's just the play of phenomena. I don't have to own it, grasp it, push at it, beat at it so much. That only exacerbates the suffering, But just knowing that when we wake to it, it cuts the power of it, the grip, the identification. We still may be identified and we're kind of wrapped around the axle a little bit, but it's less because we're aware of what's going on and we're tracking it and we're bringing compassion to it. So that's our basic practice. We allow these phenomena to run their natural course. And if we have enough patience, equanimity, we start to see whatever that challenging phenomenon is start to wobble a little bit. It gets weaker. And where it might have gripped and thrown us, after some time, not so much, And we can even, after playing with this for a while, get to be tickled a little bit by the kind of shameless shenanigans of the heart and mind, what it will do and twist and turn. And we don't own it. There's a deeper sensibility to who we are. And of course, there are nuances and degrees of difficult emotions that require help from others and all kinds of various treatments. But in practice, foundationally, suffice it to say, it's meet your experience with as much acceptance and equanimity and compassion for yourself as you can muster in that moment. Sometimes it's a lot, and sometimes it's like too much, and it's time to go watch stupid TV or something, take a break. But as we learn to work with these challenging energies and our view and our understanding of creation is broadened and enhanced, we'll notice that there are moments of kind of relative quietude and stillness where these hindrance energies, as they're called, or survival energies, as I like to call them, are calm. And for those of you that are maybe somewhat new to Buddhism, there's these hindrances that obscure the Buddha nature or the deep, loving, connected, whatever, everything. And they are very simply, there's a basket of wanting energies, wantingness, there's greed, there's lust. And then there's a basket of non-wanting things, the non-wanting basket of fear, anger, shame, guilt. And then there's the basket of kind of restless, anxious energy. I mean, we all know bits and pieces of this. We all have them, and they fire up at different times. And then there's the basket of, I'm just going to dim the power down and get sleepy and turtle in and avoid. And that in Buddhism is called sloth and torpor. It's a great avoidance technique. We all know that one too. And finally, there's the insidious doubt, the basket of little creeping doubt thoughts that seem to come through the back door and start kind of signaling to us that we're like a worthless loser who can't do anything or get anything right, and we're hopeless. That's a kind of, that's sad when it gets some tentacles into us. But there are moments when these hindrances chill for whatever reasons. The clouds thin, and there is a possibility of the direct knowing of this natural awareness or pure consciousness or the source opens up. Because it's always here. It's always like, it's never not. It's always. We don't have to cultivate it. It doesn't have to be developed. It's ever present. It's that far away. I always like some of the Tibetan Dzogchen. Look, see, let go, be free. Okay, boom, it can happen. Now, to prime your individual pump, it could be words or images that you just recall in a moment and maybe supports this opening. For me, some words like bright, open, here, now, love. That might be just enough to cut through some of the floating debris that's in there and allow a grander opening. Or it could be images or remembrance. If I remember sitting in church, in that little church, or if I remember certain retreats I was on, or events in nature, or lovemaking, or whatever it might be, that can like become a little portal in that time. And over time, as we get glimpse here, a glimpse there, a glimpse there, and it just starts to open in many different situations, kind of a calm, loving, pleasant surprise, like whoosh, you know. And when it happens, it feels like, oh, this is the most real home that I feel. Everything pales. And if it might be just a moment. You know. And it's in the most subtle and quieter times, and maybe we'll talk about this in some other meeting, like, is there birth and death? I mean, really? That's a big question. If there is this unity that can be felt, and that humans have found ways to, what dies? It's a bigger question. I remember discussions I had with a monk named Pa Auk Sayadaw, a Burmese kind of samadhi master, jhana master. He was famous for helping people learn to develop their concentration in really profound ways. And I studied with him for 5 months in a retreat, and then again in two months. And I remember coming to him in you get to talk to him for like 5 or 10 minutes each day, and the rest of the time you're silent. Coming to him and saying, well, I've been kind of, sitting day after day, I may be going crazy, but it seems like sometimes the boundaries kind of thin out into everything. Sometimes it happens very slowly or not at all, sometimes all at once. And then sometimes it's like quiet and still, and then it's like, I'm taken by this. Whatever this is, this everything kind of washes over, engulfs. And there's no me. There's everything. There's all of us and everything. And he said, well, yeah, sometimes it does that. It kind of, and sometimes it engulfs, and sometimes there's an expansion. It's not, it's a fluid opening into what seems to be a deep truth. And so when there can be these regular glimpses or peeks into this, as I said in the beginning, the results are pretty profound. There's a kind of restorative value to that. It's just very restful. There's an expanded capacity of the heart and acceptance, greater equanimity. And that kind of wise view, as the Buddha would say, or wise experience, as you might experience, underscores and supports every thought, every kind of holds every emotion. It affects every word that you say and every action. Because it's not so easy to navigate this world. We need all that we can bring to it. There's a lot of challenges day to day in living in this world. They seem to be increasing, if that's possible, but maybe they said that 1,000 years ago. I don't know. So I'm going to end with just some words, a few words from Nisargadatta, a sage. And he says, the person becomes the watcher. The watcher becomes awareness. Awareness becomes pure being. It's pointing to a subtle refinement. Start with mindfulness, watcher, what's happening? Can I be with it? And then, what's this? Am I awareness? What? I am. And then, most subtle, being, past words. Kind of words are not useful and can't describe. So that's tonight's story. Thank you so much, and take care of yourself and take care of everybody else.